Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this virtual community forum tonight for the Shaker Lane Elementary School. My name is Mark Stafford. I'm the owner's project manager for the job and for the project. And I'd like to introduce the people that will be speaking this evening. Marilee Mercy from Studio G Architects, Dr. Kelly Clinchy, Superintendent of Schools, Principal Michelle Kane of Shaker Lane, and Steve Venuti of the Finance Committee. So we're going to be doing a quick overview of the MSBA process. I'm going to give you an update of where we are currently on the estimated costs for the project. And then as part of that, talk about the potential tax impact, some information from current school data from the MSBA, get a quick design update. Any of the issues with the existing school that those may not be aware will be identified. Big question of what if the project doesn't pass, what the road is for that. Also the cost of doing nothing if it doesn't pass, and then next steps. So next slide, please. So the process of the MSBA, we've been at this since about 2022. The district started in 2018, didn't get accepted, got accepted in 19. They have a series of modules, 9 to 10 modules. The 10th module is actually a newer one, Project Post-Occupancy. We've been through the first 4 modules. We are wrapping up schematic design as we speak. That means we've been through feasibility, eligibility, form the team, all of that. We are here now at schematic design. Our next big step with the MSBA is the Board of Directors meeting at the end of August 27th to be exact, where we're anticipating the board is going to vote us into design development and close out for the project. After that, 2 very important parts for the town: the special town meeting on October 28th, and then the town vote on November 1st. We make it through that positively, then we'll move on to the following, the rest of the modules for the project. And we're hoping to look at the fall and/or winter of 2028, where the building will be open and ready for occupancy. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the updated cost of where we are right now, June/July of 2025. Estimated project cost is currently sitting at $98.1 million. That's the total project cost. Estimated MSBA grant currently is about $29.4 million, with an estimated cost to the town of Littleton for $68.7 million. Steve will get a little bit more into it for the cost per first year, et cetera, et cetera. But please notice the asterisks. The final cost is anticipated to be a lot less, and we'll have an update of that definitely by the end of August for the meeting with the board of directors. But we have received information from the MSBA this past week for the comments for schematic design, including the total project budget. We have a draft meeting with them tomorrow and a formal meeting with them on Thursday morning. We will be reviewing the numbers. Maybe as early as next week or the week after, we may have solid numbers that we may be able to share at that point. So stay tuned. We are anticipating that the grant may be a little bit more. The project cost is probably might be slightly more, not a lot more. So stay tuned. Things are going very positively with the project, where we got approved by the Inspector General to go ahead with this construction manager at risk application. The DESI application was approved for the secondary and educational folks. The MSBA had comments, but they're very, in my mind, minimal comments. Marilee may disagree with me, but I agree. Yeah, you agree. Okay, excellent. So things are going well, and we hope to have even better news in the coming weeks. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Steve to talk a little bit more about the tax impact. Steve?
Thank you, Mark. At the top of the slide, you can see the net project cost from the previous slide. That's $68.7 million. The whole goal of this is to try and get that net bond amount down as much as we possibly can, that 58.2. We're doing it through 2 ways on this slide, through a bond issuance premium of $4 million and the savings that the town is estimated to put aside between now and construction time of $6.5 million. That brings us down to the 58.2. If, as Mark just talked about, we're able to get a little bit more from the MSBA, that brings that bond amount down, which has a huge impact on these tax numbers that we're looking at here. So if we go over to that right-hand column, first year, worst year, as I always say, right now is at $859 on the average home, which is around $700,000. And if you look at the years 1 through 5, the averages for each of those sections of 855, 762 as we go down in the next section, down to 597 years 11 through 20, for a total of 14,000 or an average of $700 per year. So we're hopefully going to get that number down when we learn more from the MSBA in a couple of weeks. On this, you can just see graphically how that debt service payment, that tax impact just goes down each of the years. It goes down because we make principal payments on this bond, and the more principal payments we make, the less interest costs we have. And it's the interest costs that really drive this. With the debt exclusion stabilization account that we're going to have, additional funds that we're going to be putting aside, the town is looking to put in around 12.5% of this from inside the levy. We're going to, again, try and get that down as much as we can, whether it's through the MSBA or whether it's through additional savings that we can try and eke out each budget year to put money aside to reduce the impact of the taxpayer as much as we can. And that's kind of the goal of the Finance Committee and the Select Board and the School Committee in talking about this, is to get that tax impact down as much as we possibly can.
All right, I want to put the cost of this project in perspective a little bit. This chart is from the MSBA's website. They keep track of school project costs, and they have kept track since they were in existence. This chart goes back to 2009, and you can see how the cost of schools has really risen exponentially, especially since the pandemic, really. So what you see here is all of the black squares represent elementary school projects. The orange ones are middle school and high school. And what I want to focus in on is what's in this pink rectangle here, because this will compare the Shaker Lane School with other schools that are in a similar location in the process. So if we zoom in here, of all of the schools that are going to be going or starting construction within the next 2 years, Littleton is second to lowest in terms of cost per square feet. The only one lower is North Adams, this outlier way out in Western Massachusetts. So yes, the school is expensive, but schools are expensive right now. And the entire design team and the district has been working really hard to make it as affordable as we possibly can. So this just sort of compares apples to apples, other elementary schools that are in the same process. All right, so what does Littleton get for the money? This is a site plan showing the plan for the new school. Here's the footprint up here on the existing upper field, which I believe that is the Ken White field, and there's also a softball field up there. We are maintaining the existing site access from Roxbury over here. This will be used by cars. They'll come in and do a loop here, and then come back out the same way. And then there's new site access up here on Shaker Lane that will be used for buses and deliveries. And they'll come in here on a loop and then leave. This two loop arrangement keeps things very safe for the students. The traffic layout right now at the school is, there's difficulties with safety. There's a lot of cars and students and buses that have to be coordinated, and the school's been working really hard to make that as safe as possible. But this new design is really going to make sure that it's as safe as possible. There's also this drive that goes all the way around the school. That is an emergency access drive. So if a fire truck needs to come out here or an ambulance needs to come out here, they have a drive that's going to be reserved only for those emergency vehicles. That's not going to be for cars or anything else. We have a new play area that's protected out here at the back. And we have a dedicated gym yard here, which is directly outside of the gym and the adaptive PE space. So, these are little kids, they've got short legs. It takes a while to get everybody geared up and ready to go outside. So having outdoor play space right here outside of the gym is going to dramatically increase the amount of time those kids can spend in class rather than just traveling. I've talked a bit in the past about the field situation. And first I'll talk about this one. This we've been referring to as the lower field. This is the location of the proposed geothermal well site. What's going to happen is the wells will be drilled. Then this area will be used as construction laydown. So this field's going to get torn up during the construction process, but included in the budget is the cost of restoring this field. So at the end of the project, you'll have this field back. Down here, we have been showing a baseball field and 2 youth soccer fields as placeholders, just to give people an idea of how much could fit here in this area once the existing building comes down. What we are discovering is that the leaching field underneath this parking lot is going to be pretty sizable. So when it comes down to it, we are hoping that we can get rid of this parking lot and replace it with another baseball field, because we understand that there is a much greater need for baseball fields than soccer fields. And plus we would like to put back the 2 fields here. So it's a 1-to-1 swap. This is something that there is money for in the budget. It's included in the budget is fields of some kind. And we'll be working on figuring out exactly what that looks like after town vote. These
Marilee, excuse me, can you get back to
Yep.
that site plan just real quick?
Yeah.
Just
Hold
sorry.
on a second.
Just wanted to mention the outline of where the existing school is currently. You can see there. So during construction, what's going to work out really well too is that where the new building is going to be built will be completely cordoned off and safe from where the existing school is currently. So that works out pretty well. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great point. The beauty of putting the field or putting the new school away from here, removed from the existing school, is that we don't have to disrupt the students during construction. And we are putting it in the schedule such that the kids can move into the new school and be entirely moved over there. We'll have the drive aisles and everything all ready to go when the kids move in, and then we'll demolish the existing building and restore fields. I think Justin has a question.
Hey, Mary Lee.
Hi.
With this up, it's a question that always comes up about enrollment and where the possible addition could go. So while this is up, could you just talk about where the addition would hang off this building in the event that we needed to add on at some point in the future? Would we lose the gym yard?
No, you would not.
Oh.
The plan for that is to attach it here. This is because of the wetlands buffers, and because of proximity to neighbors, this is the most buildable part of the site. It's also fairly flat here, so there wouldn't have to be a lot of earthwork to accomplish this. And we're not planning on putting any sort of play equipment here. This is actually an outdoor learning space, so it's just paved with some site furniture. So that really paves the way for an addition to pop in here. There is a stair right here, so we don't have to worry about egress. And there's enough room for a 4-classroom or more addition at that location. 4 classrooms is approximately 100 more students.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, here are some visuals of the exterior of the school. This is an aerial view of the front entry. You can see the car loop right here, the bus loop over here, and this is the main entry plaza. From more of a person's eye view, this awning here directs people to the front door, and it brings the scale of the building down to a very child-friendly height. These are preschoolers to grade 2, so it's kids under the age of 8. And so it's very important to make the building feel welcoming, not intimidating, like a really fun place for them to go every day. Here's a view of the back of the play area. And we are intending to have a wide variety of play equipment. There's a dedicated preschool play area with age-appropriate equipment over there. We're intending to put in a basketball court, half-court basketball, and then on the other side would be wall ball. That's something that the kids have right now, and they really enjoy playing it, so it's a fun addition. We're also intending to put in some play equipment that is wheelchair accessible. All of the playground equipment is considered accessible, but not every play equipment piece is considered wheelchair accessible. So what we end up doing is choosing equipment that a child in a wheelchair can just roll directly on and participate in the play. If anybody wants an example of what this might look like, there is at the new Florence Roach School in Groton, just next door, there is sort of a little spinning house that can accommodate 3 children in wheelchairs at any one time. And this is a really popular piece of equipment with all the kids. They push each other around in circles. They pretend it's a house. It's a really fun, open-ended piece of playground play equipment for everybody. That school also has a wheelchair accessible seesaw, teeter-totter. It has a ramp that kids can roll up on. It has large seating areas, so plenty of kids can sit on it at once. And by moving around, they can make the thing rock. So there are some really fun, cool pieces of equipment that are accessible to everybody. And that's something we'll be looking at including when we get deeper into the design. All right, here are some floor plans. Over here is the first floor. This is the main entry. Off of this lobby area, you have a secure vestibule and the administration area, so we can really control who has access to this building. And we also have direct access to the cafeteria and the gymnasium, which are the 2 main spaces that will be available for community use outside of school hours. This entire lobby can be closed off so that the rest of the school is not accessible. So if you have an event in the evening, you could have the cafeteria and or the gym, plus plenty of toilet rooms for everybody to use, and the rest of the school remains secure. Beyond that, it's organized with the youngest children on the first floor. So we have pre-K over here in sort of self-contained preschool area, and we have the kindergarten over here as well. These spaces have direct access outside to the play yard and outdoor learning as well. And then upstairs we have grades 1 and 2, as well as art and music. And so we've looked really carefully at the circulation about how kids are going to be moving through the space, making sure that it's as efficient as possible, because remember, little legs, it takes a while to travel places, and making sure there's not congestion during the day when you have a lot of kids moving around between classes. We also have a media center at the heart of the school, and this is the single area where we have a double height space. And what that allows us to do is have the media center spill out into the second floor area. We'll line this balcony with books and seating and little sort of nooks where kids can crawl in with a book. And really one of the goals that the district had was to have learning everywhere. And so this media center that spills out onto both floors and is at the heart of the school was a key part of meeting that goal. Each of the grade levels is arranged into what we're calling a den. This is classrooms surrounding a central collaborative area. Each of these classrooms is fully contained, and they also include a wide sliding door that can be opened. And when it's open all the way, the classrooms can really spill out into the shared collaborative area. So this allows the classrooms to feel like they're much larger than they actually are. This allows us to replace circulation space with educational space. So instead of having just a dedicated corridor that's only used for circulation, now we have this collaborative area where you can have a huge variety of different activities taking place at any one time. There is an area that is sized to fit every single kid in the entire grade to sit for one special event. Maybe you have somebody come in to talk about a special science experiment, or maybe bring in animals, something like that. But it's a way for the entire grade to gather together right here in their neighborhood. There's also sinks for science and STEM and art activities, as well as an area for books and reading. This is, again, spilling the media center into the grade level neighborhoods to bring books even deeper into the school and have them much more accessible to the kids by having them right here in their neighborhood. We also have these little yellow rooms. These are breakout rooms. These are rooms that if somebody needs some small group instruction or one-on-one instruction, instead of having to travel all the way to the specialist comes here, takes the kid just right here into the adjacent room and gives the lesson. So it's called a push-in model. It's so that the specialists come to the children, and it makes the kids be able to be as integrated into their classroom as possible and get the supports that they need without having to leave their peers. A quick comparison of what this does in terms of size and efficiency. This is a comparison of the existing Shaker Lane School right now of one grade level. You have all the classrooms and a special ed room lined up on a single corridor. And we measured the distance of how far it is from the most distant classroom over to access to the rest of the school. Then we compared that to if we took the classroom space and all of the different spaces, collaboration spaces, toilet rooms, support spaces, everything that is listed in the MSBA guidelines, and we put that in a traditional classroom layout with a corridor. We also calculated the distance from the most distant space to the rest of the school. And then we compared it to the DEN model that has all the exact same spaces and also measures from the most distant door to the rest of the school. And if you look at this, the travel distance for the existing school and a traditional layout are approximately the same. But when you use this DEN layout, it becomes much, much shorter. So these kids are spending way less time just transitioning between spaces. We also have the square footage comparison. So the existing Shaker Lane School is quite a bit smaller than it really should be. So if you compare the traditional layout of MSBA spaces with the DEN layout of these spaces, they're only about 240 square feet off of each other. So this is a really efficient layout that doesn't add to the square feet. And so we're trying to keep the size down, keep it as efficient as possible, and maximize the use. Because now instead of just a corridor, we have all these activities that can take place in this shared area. This is the media center. You can see how there's media center activities that happen down here, as well as go up to the second floor. Large glass windows with views out to the playground. And we have we've been calling this a learning stair, but it's also wheelchair accessible. There's a ramp that comes up here around the back, goes underneath the stairs and pops out right here. So the top and bottom levels of this are accessible to children in wheelchairs. We also have a media center classroom over here that most of the time can be left open to make it feel like a large cohesive media center, but at times it can be closed off for classroom activities or for professional development. This is another example of finding ways to make square footage serve double duty. So you're really getting as much value as possible out of every single square foot. I would pass, is Michelle here yet? Pass it to her or to Kelly? Oh, hi, Michelle.
Is here.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Marilee. So I'm going to speak a little bit tonight about why we are in need for a new building. So just looking at this presentation, if you've seen this before, you've seen these pictures. On the top left, you can see our cafeteria. There are some petitions on the stage. We currently hold our ELL classroom, multilingual learner students are have their classes on the stage in the cafeteria between lunch services. When lunch is in session, we do have to take those students who need services and triple them up with 2 other educators. So we have 3 people in a classroom during lunch periods. If you look at the second picture in the middle, talking more about the lunch period, most schools have a 2-way entrance for the lunch period. We do not. So we have students lined up, and where school lunch is free across Massachusetts, families do take advantage of that. And we have lines going down the hallway of, about 100 students receiving lunches. We used to have the serving area that you see in blue. We used to have that inside the Shakey's lunchbox, and we moved it out because we had to hire more staff to provide lunches because school lunch is free. So it also makes that, space a little congested. To the right, you'll see that is our music room. Our music room used to be on the stage last year, or 2 years ago. This past year, we moved it into a space that was our special education administrator's room. We moved her into a closet and turned her small classroom with no windows into a very small music room. The downfall of this is the music curriculum has movement in place of that, in the curriculum, and in place of that, it's really difficult to move when you have, 20 little bodies in that room. So part of the curriculum is really getting creative and not being able to be able to deliver it in its, intended capacity. And then across the bottom, you'll see the students learning in closets. So we have transformed, I think this year we didn't have many moves, but the year before we had about 11 moves where we cleared out closets, and we had people moving into closets for offices, for supporting students, for small group learning, and in the hallway, those small group classrooms in between the rooms that Marilee was talking about would negate the need for this in the hallway to have to provide services in the hallway for students.
I want to talk a little bit about some of the behind the scenes things that you wouldn't necessarily see just by visiting the space and moving through the space. When we talk about what it would take to bring the existing building up to code, or really talk about the condition and expected lifespan of the existing building, these are just a few of the things that we're taking into account. Right now, the existing building does not have a sprinkler system, and if something happens that we do end up needing to put in a sprinkler system, that triggers a few other things where we have to do fire alarm upgrades, the voice alert system upgrades, replacing fire alarm panels, and that gets pretty costly. There are some issues like the boilers are really on their last legs. We're not sure when they're going to fail, but Murphy's Law, probably during the winter. The roof has some issues with leaking. The plumbing fixture counts, there's not enough toilets for everybody, and the toilets that are there are not all wheelchair accessible. We have some issues with the electrical system, whereas it was sized for the original building many decades ago, and now we have modern education where there's a lot of technology. The school has been installing air conditioning classroom by classroom as they can, and the existing electrical system was not sized for it. So that is really maxed out at this point. There's not very much more that can be added before requiring an extensive electrical upgrade. Michelle already addressed the issues with food service, but beyond that, there are some issues with the finishes in those rooms. So the walls and the ceiling and the floor are not necessarily up to health code standards. There's issues where food is stored in the loading dock area because there just is no room in the kitchen itself. Moving outside at the playground is half asphalt and half wood chips. The asphalt portion of it is cracking, but it's cracking in such a way and so completely through the thickness of the asphalt that it cannot just be simply patched. It would need a full depth replacement at some point in the near future. And the wood chips are not considered wheelchair accessible, as well as some of the playground is not considered accessible in general. Also, security. Modern schools require some very specific security concerns, including control of how people are able to get to the building, how staff can see who is approaching and control who comes in. And these are issues that would require substantial renovations in order to solve them in the existing building. So when we talk about the cost of what all these would be, or talk about the cost of, how is this going to add up, it's really kind of easy to see that even just a fraction of these could add up very quickly. So then that brings me to what happens if it doesn't pass the town vote. If it fails the town vote, then Littleton loses the MSBA funding. Already the town has spent over $1 million for us to do what we've done so far with the design and with the study of the existing building. Yes, there's a possibility of going back to the MSBA and trying again. However, this is a process that can take 7 to 10 years. The MSBA has a limited budget for the number of schools in the state that really need upgrading. And so in order to convince the MSBA that, okay, well, this time the town will support it and will vote for it, that's a pretty big hurdle that the town would need to convince the MSBA that they should go through this process again and support the town again instead of choosing another community. So it's not just so easy as reapplying. This is something that could take several years and is definitely not guaranteed. And in the meantime, the cost of construction just continues to go up and up. So also, not only does Littleton lose the funding, but also Shaker Lane has to remain in operation. So with all of those shortcomings and issues with the building that Michelle and I talked about, anything that needs to be repaired during that time, Littleton is 100% responsible for. There's no MSBA reimbursement for that. There's no funding. So looking at all of the building systems, critical building systems, the HVAC, the mechanical, they are at or beyond the end of their expected life. There was a study conducted by the town of Littleton, I think 13 years ago. And at that time, that report says that those systems are at or beyond their existing life. And those systems are still running today. So this is not a question of if they will fail, it is a question of when. And one thing that we need to keep in mind is that the building code says that if you spend a certain amount of money on a building over the course of 3 years or 5 years, then you trigger an entire code upgrade. So what this means is 2.73 million, I believe that's 8% of the building's assessed value. If you spend 8% of the building's assessed value over the course of 5 years, then you have to install the fire suppression system. And then you also have to do the full code upgrade. So that's why we showed you all of those different behind the scenes things so that you can understand how easy and quickly reaching that 2.73 threshold will be. So just trying to drive home the importance of getting this money from the MSBA while Littleton has the opportunity. So then I want to pass it to Kelly to talk a little bit about about the modulars.
Thanks, Mary Lee. If we were not able to secure sufficient funds for a new school, the school is approximately 2/3 of the size that it should be. That was verified by MSBA. In order to compensate for that, we'd have to move in 11 modular classrooms to make up for that space difference. Each modular that we install would take away outdoor play space. They'd have to go in the back of the school, about 50 feet back from the pavement area where our students currently play. Modulars, as you can imagine, aren't suitable for very young learners or students, and would definitely increase the distance our students would have to travel to common areas in the school, such as cafeteria, library, any special accommodations or services that they receive. They would also have walkways, so it would be outdoors. So we'd have to install security fences, etc., to make sure the area was as secure as possible. And the modulars definitely wouldn't solve any educational delivery issues. Our educational plan is designed to bring learning for our youngest learners to the next level, which means increased collaboration, learning through play, the use of universal design for learning, etc. Students at this age don't sit in rows and desks for 6 hours a day. They're up and moving and very active. The current school was not designed for that type of educational delivery. Modulars also have installation, operational, and maintenance costs as well. If we look at the next slide, building code upgrades, as Mary Lee pointed out, would occur if we exceeded $2.73 million over the course of 5 years. We had already talked about the fact that most of these systems in the Shaker Lane School are beyond life expectancy. I'm living an example right now with our renovated space at Indian Hill. We moved in or 5 weeks ago, and we're in a couple of weeks, and we had a water leak on the second level where our offices are located. It was a sprinkler line that was defective, caused significant damage, and we're still out of that building. We're into 3 weeks now where we're out of our offices, and kudos to the town staff for doing whatever they can to get this fixed. But it doesn't get fixed overnight. There needs to be cost estimates, need to figure out how to solve the issues. And we're anticipating another week or two before we can get back in that building. So Shaker Lane houses approximately 500 students and staff. We build in 5 snow days to our school calendar. Department of Education does not allow us to go beyond June 30th to educate our students. And if we had a major system failure in that school, there is no way that I would be able to find spaces for 500 students and staff in our district. The Department of Education does not allow virtual learning to make up for lost time. So this would be a real challenge for us. And it could be a reality when we consider the condition of some of the systems at Shaker Lane School. There would be no MSBA grant funding for any code upgrades. It's important to remember that code upgrades are not renovations. There's no beautification or restructuring of the internal components of the school. It's really system repair. And we estimate that cost of about $44 million. And on the previous slide, we predicted costs would increase 4 to 8% a year. Even at 4% a year, every year we delayed doing a full code upgrade would cost $1.8 million. That would be $1.8 million a year. 11 modular classrooms would be another $6 million. We're looking at $50+ million without any MSBA grant funding given to us. And it definitely would not allow us to take education to the next level, which we're really looking to do. And the school would not be designed for our youngest learners in our district. When we look at cost comparisons between code upgrades and portables compared to a new school, the per year premium for the code upgrade would be $1,187. That would be the first year tax impact. The first year tax impact at the current time for a new school building is $859. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Mark.
Thank you, Kelly, Marilee, Michelle, Steve. So we're here tonight at a community forum. Next steps, we're going to have some more tours and informational sessions, one scheduled for August 14th, another one scheduled for October, another community forum to be announced in October and September. And please mark your calendars for the special town meeting and the debt exclusion vote that happens later. But as I said when we sort of introduced the presentation, we are currently working with the MSBA now to go towards the Board of Directors meeting on August 27th, where it's looking pretty favorable. We have work to do in the next few weeks to continue that with the MSBA for them to make a recommendation for us. We'll be identifying exactly at that point what the project budget and the reimbursement grant will be for the town. So, you know, in the next few weeks, it's going to be very interesting to see where we are. We're very positive about the outcome, but community support is absolutely huge at this point. We understand there's some great things going on in the community right now. Trying to get the word out. We're having a virtual community forum tonight because we've had in-person forums that weren't very well attended. So we're trying to do something differently so we can get more word out to people, and then other people can tell other people and understand how important this project is to the town. So having said that, I think let's open it up to questions and answers, questions for anybody that may have them, and we'll provide as many answers as we can.
We do have a question, Sean. Sean Ahern? Sean, are you there?
I'm there. Yeah, no, I'm not asking a question. I just wanted to make sure I was like in the meeting correctly.
Okay, you're here. Thank you. Kim Ahern?
Yes. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, Kim Ahern, I'm on 40 Foster Street. I had a few questions, a lot of them, so I'll try to make it really brief, but the school, the new school, does it include the potential for so many more children to be coming to school when the new development is on the IBM site? What is it, 1,000 to 3,000 units or something? Does it provide for that, or is that where the new addition would come in?
I can answer that unless somebody else wants to. So when the district was speaking to the MSBA about enrollment, they were not allowed to include that development in the calculation because the project had not reached a certain degree of certainty. However, looking at that project, it is over 1,000 units, but of those, only I think 78 or 79 are 3-bedroom units. Those are the ones that are likely to have families with children in there. So if you look at 78 units, and let's say if children from infant to age 18 are evenly distributed, the only kids that would be going to the school are the kids who are ages pre-K to 2. So of those 78, it's maybe 15 children. And the enrollment that the MSBA and the district agreed upon can easily absorb 15 students, 20 students. There's quite a bit of additional children beyond the enrollment that the MSBA agreed upon that the school can accommodate before an addition would be required.
So how many more children would be able to be accommodated with this new school?
The
I know
Mary,
you said 15 new ones and potential kids from the new development, but what is the number of students at maybe Shaker Lane now, and what is this new school going to provide for?
So Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, but you had 399 or 400 students this year, and the enrollment for the new MSBA school is 435 in grades K through 2, and we have room in the pre-K for up to 60 students. So 495 students before the district needs to consider maybe adding more children per classroom than they had originally planned on. Quite a few more students could be added to each classroom before you reach the level of overcrowding that an addition would be warranted.
Okay, thank you.
yeah, so I'd also like to just add, Kim, when we talked with MSBA, they did afford an additional classroom. So there is already built in an additional classroom for
Great.
each grade level.
Okay, great. Well, I do have some questions, but I should have started by saying I thought your presentation was really great and very comprehensive. So I guess my last one, well, let me give you two more. One is the playground. Who's going to be designing that? And are you going to make sure that it's not designed by a playground company like O'Brien that did the first one where how many little kids broke their shoulders or arms the first day of school when that went in? And the playground company assured them, oh no, this is the size for that age group. And I tried to tell them, no, it wasn't, but they didn't believe me. And then that's what happened. So is there somebody that knows something about playgrounds that's going to be on the team?
Yes, that's a great question. We have a landscape architect who has done dozens of schools, many schools for this age group, and choosing play equipment is a collaborative effort between us and the district. So every piece of equipment that goes in, we'll be having discussions with Michelle and Kelly and with some of the other educators to make sure that they are safe and appropriate for this age group. And,
Okay.
I really feel for that because just last fall, my daughter fell on a playground and broke her arm. So I care a lot about it.
And who's the landscape architect?
It was Warner Larson, but they were recently bought out by a company called IMEG, but it's still the same people. Now they just have like a corporate owner.
Okay, well, I think we better keep an eye on that.
Thank you.
Yep. So let's see, the last one was, one of the last slides you showed was of an area that looked like a little stage where there were stairs and a very high ceiling. And you said the handicapped accessibility would go around and under the stairs. Do you remember that? Yes, right there. So this is just a design comment, is you had said you wanted to maximize the amount of space within the building for different functions. And this one, I had two comments that it seems a little out of scale to me with these little kids having this big high ceiling. And what if you extended the mezzanine level over somehow and captured, you brought down the scale there a little bit. I don't mind that there's a differentiation between classroom height and something like this, but just seems like, to me, as a designer, it looks like it's a little out of scale, and maybe you could capture some of that space that you had talked about a few times in the presentation.
Yep, that is another good question. Let me see if I want to go to the plan view of this, so I think it's a little easier to talk about. Okay, but actually I'm gonna do this so I can zoom in here. Here we go. All right, so in the media center here, first I want to talk about how all of this space is useful. We have the ramp, which is going to be designed with a lot of sensory activities on the wall and some playing with textures and transparencies and colors, so that moving through this ramp is a playful and sensory rich experience. So with these children being so young, play is a super important part of their education and their experience in the school. So adding playful elements like this contributes to their education. Next is these risers, I guess you could call them over here, for seating. There will be a screen here on this wall so they can show movies or show educational videos or anything like that, or even read aloud books and have the pages of the book displayed on the screen. And so providing seating here helps to have the kids have a better view of that and sort of creates a little story corner. These are also another playful element, is allowing kids to climb on them and improve their gross motor skills and sort of get the wiggles out by being allowed to move in a safe and controlled environment. This platform here is large enough for a bunch of different soft seating options, people to move around with plenty of space, plus bookshelves with shelves. So everything on this level is used really well in terms of space planning. And then when you move upstairs here, the area that is open to above is a pretty small footprint. And one of the things that we spoke about in sort of early design planning was that it was important to have something really cool and special in this school, like something that really the kids can be proud of and say, this is the cool thing that I have at my school that no other school has. So the large wall here, we've talked about various types of murals that could go on that wall, including maybe a map of Littleton or a map of the world, so that children can understand their place in the community and in the world as a whole. There's not really any other places in the school that have that large of a surface for that type of large scale mural. We also have this large balcony area up here that is large enough for more furniture and still have plenty of room for people to move around. So really the benefit of having this as a double height space of the cool factor and the ability to have a large mural and to have these large windows that really brings light deep into the space that otherwise would be pretty closed off. They outweigh the small amount of square footage that's lost due to the double height space. If that answers your question.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I would hope that is the art project that's going to be the mural or whatever, is that part of the budget for the
Yep.
school, so you'll bring in an artist and work. Might work with the kids or might work with somebody in town that's some group or something like that, or are you doing that?
We have not discussed whether it would be an artist or a graphic designer. If it was graphic design, then that is something that we could do in-house. The cost of a mural like that gets printed on wallpaper and it gets applied to the wall like wallpaper. So the cost of that, installation of that, production of that is included. That level of specificity is something that we would talk about after town votes.
Okay, well, there's always a cultural council you can hit up for some money, so that would be a perfect project for them.
Great idea.
Yeah, no, that sounds really good. My last one, I'm sorry to take up so much time, but if you're trying to present this to the town, I think one thing that could help is at the very beginning, you showed other towns that are doing similar projects and how expensive they are. But all the towns you showed were much, except for the one out in Western Mass, were really a lot bigger than Littleton. So I think if you could find some towns like Burlington, Stoughton, Dedham, these are all really big towns, Reading, Wilmington. I don't know how many kids are in Leominster, but I don't know. I think if you can find some other examples, just a suggestion, if you're trying to pass this, trying to make the case at town meeting, you might want to, or mention how many students are in these school districts to
Yeah,
bring more in line.
that's a challenge we always have of trying to find schools that are similar enough to make a meaningful comparison. And so that's why we use the dollars per square foot, because that's really regardless of the size of the school or the number of kids that are in the school, the dollar per square foot is just a commentary on the materials chosen and the construction that's done and the choices that are made to make it as efficient as possible. So I understand what you mean, but unfortunately, these are all the schools that are happening right now. Anything earlier than this is not really going to be comparable because there's just been inflation since then.
Sure.
Right? Like this is all of the MSBA projects.
Yeah, okay, I understand.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening and all the answers. I appreciate your time.
Of course, thank you.
I do not see any more questions. Oh, I do have a question. One moment. Rob Rounds. Rob, are you there?
Got it. Because I can't see how many people are on the call, can you tell me approximately how many residents are on the call? This has been an issue of concern with regard to getting the word out, so I'd appreciate understanding that.
We have 10 attendees,
Okay.
including yourself, Rob.
Okay. Another question I have is, and may be too difficult, but do you anticipate going to, like, I think Steve's on the call, like when will FinCom and others be requested to take votes to express support so that it will be included in the town meeting report pertaining to the article to, approve the school building project? Is there any timetable? I think many of you know, trying to focus and bring attention to community, and part of that is getting awareness of different organizations within the town who are on board and supporting this proposal. It's like one select board, FinCom, those are the easy ones, if you will. Obviously, the school committee as well be expected to take a vote and express their support, et cetera.
I can answer that for you, Rob. Once the meeting with the MSBA is done and costs are finalized, so we can really come up with what that tax impact number is going to be and the numbers that we're going to go to town meeting with. We'll certainly have a meeting between the select board, finance committee, school committee, to go over those costs before we put the articles together for town meeting. So September's going to go by pretty fast. So it'll probably happen sometime during September. We'll get the boards together. And then we're right into October. So we'll have 2 months really after we get those updated costs from MSBA to really get support going in the town with the boards and get the votes going.
Okay, thank you. I know we talked about this the last time. I'm just wondering if there's been any headway made or if it'll be addressed and how it will be addressed. This vote that's coming up, I think, is going to be of particular interest to young people with potential attendees, young learners going to Shaker Lane, as well as those that are currently there. And so the aspect of the time of the meeting, town meeting, and having assistance to deal with young children, et cetera. How do you anticipate, how's the best way in order to get that moving and so that others can get the word out? And in your future presentations, will you be presenting those accommodations so that people can hear it and start to circulate their awareness of what's anticipated to make this opportunity available, then participate in the important town vote?
I think that would be a town question. I don't know if Jim or somebody can address that. I mean, it certainly makes sense, Rob, to do something like that, but that would be, I think the timing for the meetings are probably set, and getting accommodations for families and stuff would certainly have to be discussed.
Okay, so I'll just say that I look forward to future meetings so that we can understand what's expected and can be delivered to make this a viable opportunity for families with little ones who are, going to be challenged. They may want to be there. We have to find a way to get them there.
Understood. I believe Annalise was next with her hand up.
Yes, she was. Annalise?
Hello. So I'm Annalise Tabor. I'm on Goldsmith, and I'm the chair of the Yes for Littleton ballot question committee, which is in support of the Shaker building project. So just to let everyone know, we exist and we are really working hard to spread the word of the project. We've been placing our signs around town. We've been doing a lot of outreach online on social media. And we're going to be ramping that up as the vote gets closer. So briefly, piggybacking on Rob's question really quickly, in a previous meeting, we had talked about potentially having the actual article for this vote be, closer to the beginning of town meeting. If not, someone will likely move it there. And then if childcare could be provided in some fashion, and I'm happy to, help coordinate that. I think that would get a huge, population of young parents to get to town meeting. I think that's a really important point. And then I had two things about the actual Shaker Lane project. So I'm really glad that spoke a little bit about the field plan, because I know that that's been a big question, and I'm starting to target families. So it's nice to have more of that information. If there is additional information or additional plan or anything like that, if you want to send that my way, I can use that in my marketing. Because I know fields are always at a premium in town, so it's great to hear that there's more of our. So just 100% double checking that is all the grading of the field and the completion of the field, and turning it into a baseball field, turning it into soccer fields, like everything included with that is part of the Shaker Lane budget.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Okay. All right. Great. And then I had a point that I think would be valuable in future presentations that sort of sussed out from our conversations and from doing research. I think it's really important to share with people that the code upgrade option for the existing Shaker Lane school is, the modulars are not really going to be solving the problem for a multitude of reasons. But B, the code upgrades like the larger bathroom stalls and elevator versus the lift are actually going to reduce learning space. So they're not only going to not solve the problem, but they could make it worse. So I think that's a really important point. It's one that sort of stuck in my brain. And I don't know that that's being quite articulated like to that strongly. Other than that, I appreciate the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I believe Janine had her next hand up. Dorothy, was it Janine?
I believe it was Kate's phone, but I can put it.
Okay, yeah, you've got it. Whoever's next.
Okay, thank you. Kate? Kate, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. This is Kate Jacobson from Wamasett Trail. After hearing Rob's question and hearing there are only 10 people on the call, most of us are involved in moving this forward as a yes. And I'm wondering, is the plan to get this replayed on the community TV, our local TV channels, so that people might catch it there as well?
Yes, it's being recorded at this time.
Excellent. And then I don't know if it's feasible, but just an idea about care for kids during the meeting. Again, I don't know if it's possible, but I know kids are always looking for community service, and I don't know if it's a way we could set it up so that we could have some babysitters that are getting community service and also providing care for the kids during the meeting.
Yes, you want me to answer that? Kelly?
Sure.
I can answer that. Sure. Annalise, I'm more than happy to work with you on figuring out a way to provide childcare. Community service could be one way. We could also have a conversation with Park and Rec. We have offered childcare for previous town meetings during certain years, so we'd certainly be receptive to doing that for this town meeting. The other thing too, we have had preliminary discussions about making sure that this item is near the top of the agenda. And it's my understanding is we are formally making a request to do a presentation as well.
Great. I think all those things would be very helpful. And thank you for taking the time to present this evening. Thanks.
Thank you. Dorothy, do we have Karen or Mark next?
We have, Janine left, okay. Karen?
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Yep,
Yes.
I'm here. This is Karen Morrison, and I just wanted to touch on a couple questions regarding planning for town meeting. It's absolutely already in discussion. And to Kelly's point, we have discussed the childcare option and different ways that might work, but we are cognizant of the fact that in the past it hasn't really shifted attendance numbers in a way that we'd like. I think personally, as a parent, a big part of that is that kids go to bed early, and so when meetings run late, it doesn't if they're in the cafeteria or if they're with Parks and Rec, they're not at home in bed, and parents start leaving to make sure that their kids get a decent bedtime. With that in mind, we do plan to have this I plan as chair to have this as one of the first articles for town meeting. It's been a focus of mine since I joined the select board that the most important issues need to go first. And so we'll plan to continue that for this meeting. Absolutely. Another thing that we are exploring is conflicts for kids and parking. And they sort of go hand in hand when kids have sports activities that require parking in the middle school area or in the high school area. It just makes logistics that much more difficult. So we are hoping that we'll be able to minimize conflicts in terms of kids' activities and parking that evening as well.
Great. Thank you very much.
Mark Rambacher?
Yeah, Mark Rambacher. I'm also on the select board with Karen. I have one question.
Sorry, Mark. Mark. Go ahead.
Mark Rambacher, select board. For childcare in the past, National Honor Society has done childcare, so we can reach out to them when school starts up again and they're back in session. They provided when there were big articles in the past. I do have one question on the building itself, and that's with regard to the septic system. You're putting in a new septic, or you're, as part of the cost, decommissioning the old septic, and what does that necessarily involve? Because the leach field is actually in a conservation area now, across the road. I wasn't sure what exactly was happening, where the tank is, and if that's going to affect the conservation area, and there's issues with that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Or sorry, not great idea. A great point. We've been speaking with our civil consultant as well as the company that handles the septic system right now for the town, plus the Board of Health, to determine the fate of what's going on up there. The general idea to date is to, exactly as you said, decommission it, make sure that there is nothing hazardous that could leak, and then either abandon it or do a selective demolition of just removing whatever above ground pieces are there. I think that area is gradually turning more and more into wetlands. So whatever work we do over there, we'll need to be careful to make sure that we do minimal disturbances to the surrounding grounds.
Yeah, I was just wondering if anyone's talked to the conservation about it or when that will happen. And I would assume that we, at the minimum, have to fill in the tank so that there's not an issue with that. But and I wasn't aware if there was anything that had to happen since it crossed the road as well. So.
Yeah, we are scheduled to talk to Conservation Commission and Planning Board once we get into design development. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but we'll have a series of meetings.
Okay,
but we had initial conversations with the Board of Health and Conservation early on, just to give them a sense of what's happening. So more detail will certainly come.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So, 7:16, still 90 degrees out. Anybody else have, for the attendees, any other questions, comments, concerns that you may have? Or for panelists, all right, having seen none, I think we appreciate you all taking the time to join us this evening. And as we mentioned, we plan on doing more open houses and more community forums. And once we get the approval by the MSBA Board of Directors at the end of August, as Steve mentioned, we've got September and October to really promote this project. We'll know what it's going to cost. We'll know what the grant's going to be. And we'll really get all these concerns about attendance at town meeting, babysitting, all those things will be certainly focused on at that point. So thank you all so very much for joining us on this lovely summer evening. And we look forward to continue to work on this and assist as we go forward, and hope to see you all again.